Ever had a deal that goes sideways and you're like, why did that just happen? Well, let me explain how this is going to actually be a win-win for you, and it's a big benefit. So here's a real example for you. I was working a deal with this guy named Christopher at 727 Sydney Washer Drive in Dover. And on this deal that I was working, it was actually a very creative deal. It was a house on an acre of land, nice house, needed some work. It wasn't too crazy. But he was going through some financial difficulty at that time, and we needed to create something that was just creative. Now, the biggest reason, I'm going to share with you what happened with Christopher that actually transitioned to Ralph. So what happened was on this deal, this was in April that I actually got this deal done, and these were the creative terms. So if you see on here, basically I'm taking over the mortgage, and I'm giving them $40,000 now, but it's separated into payments because I need to take over the property, put it in a land trust, make sure that we could actually fix the property, and then we got to put it back on the market and then resell the property. Now, again, this is residential, but this does work on the commercial world because I've done it on both. So long story short, we got it under contract, all these different kind of terms, and then at the last minute, he wants it back out of the deal. Now, we already have it under contract. Literally, that's his signature, right? So what happens is I could have just stopped because I had a notice contractual agreement. That means a notice contractual agreement is when you have a signed agreement, you sign that in the courts and you clog up title. Basically saying like, hey, we've got a contract. It's a legally binding contract. You just can't sell it to somebody else because they're offering you more money. That's what was happening. And especially, this took time to write up all the terms that he was requesting that at the same time, too, it was a deal. There was a deal there, but I had to make sure that we could take over the property, over the mortgage, because you don't want to put out too much capital on these kind of deals. You want to keep it not capital intensive. You want to keep it, you want to take as less risk on the investing side as you can. The goal is always what I call zero risk. So if you could take zero risk, that's what you want. So anyway, so the deal went sideways and I let him off of the deal. I didn't take him to court, didn't do any of that. Now, mind me, what happened, this was in April. Now I got a phone call and I met Ralph. Ralph, his wife just passed. And on this contract, this was April 5th was this deal, okay? This was April 24th. Now, the funny part was Ralph's had a manufactured home in Lakeland. Nice property, it was pretty much brand new, and it had a oversized garage. And when I went there, I saw that it had an extra lot. He didn't tell me that over the phone. If you ever want, you can go to my YouTube channel and you could actually find, I think I have this in my community or not. I do have the full conversation with Chris and how I structured it on my YouTube channel, which is raw. And I do get all my clients to sign an affidavit, a video and photography waiver that I can release this for training purposes. So you guys can actually see like, what does it look like in the real deal of like face-to-face conversations, right? Give me 1 second. Commercial break, right? And if you want to check out a whole bunch of case studies, go to trueinvestors.com. I have over 107 case studies. If that helps you, fantastic. If we can work together, great. If we can't, hopefully you learn something out of this. I do this just because I never really saw anybody like show proof. I see a lot of people talking, but I don't see a lot of proof, especially face-to-face conversations. Because what I found out was when you're doing residential, it will transfer to commercial, period. But you do have to have the face-to-face because people need to know, like, and trust you, so then they can refer you business, period. And I'm living proof of that right now. Anyway, long story short, when it comes down to Ralph. So Ralph, amazingly nice guy. He worked at, I don't know if you can see this. Yes. He worked at, I got to put my face on here. Give me 1 second. So he worked at Disney, and he was actually a veteran as well. Really nice guy. And told me the whole story, what was going on. And the property was worth like, and I told him this too in the conversation. I said, I think your property is definitely worth more than what you're looking for. But I gave him a fast, slow, creative option. And we came up with the creative. He needed $40,000 right now, $20,000 right now, $20,000 after we actually, in 30 days afterwards. And what I told him I was going to do was separate the lot, sell off the lot separate, which we did, and I'm going to clean up the house, do the bare minimum because it didn't need a lot of work. I'm going to help him move. So we actually got the U-Haul. Me and my son hired some workers, helped him to move. You know, he's a little bit older. When you're older, you know, can't move as you used to, I would say. And I understand that as well. Now, here's the funny part, though. On these contracts, if you see something that was pretty interesting, was one happened right before the other. So this happened the beginning of April, and if you see here, it literally says $40,000. I'm not sure if you could actually see that. So it says 40,000, right? If you see this one, look at this one. In April, $40,000 as well, meaning literally the same exact way that I set up this deal with Chris here. Even though that deal went sideways, it did not go sideways. It actually prepared me for Ralph's deal, okay? That was a 10 times better deal, and it closed out faster. So what comes up is this. When you have a situation that you are like, man, why did that deal go bad? Now, just FYI, so Ralph got paid, we got paid. It was like an $80,000 profit. All parties won. Right? This deal was kind of like with Chris, it didn't work out, but sometimes things didn't work out in your favor, right? So what comes up for me is just because a deal is going sideways, you know, are you attached or are you committed? Are you attached that you really want to be a great real estate investor or true, what I call a true investor or a true developer? Or are you committed? Committed just means like, hey, a deal may just go sideways, but it's a setup for the next deal, right? It's just a setup for the next deal. So if you look at it from that way of just saying, hey, this entire transaction with Ralph, which was very profitable, and it helped the community because we also built another house right next door to him, would have never happened if I didn't have this as a template, which I actually kept this as a template with Chris, right? And I have all of my contracts. I don't know if you could see them on that, but literally I save everything. And this is a part of, yeah. I thought it would be pretty cool because one day we're going to package this and let other people, you know, kind of go through and use it as templates as well. So use your contracts that don't go through. My recommendation is use those as this. So what I learned was there is no such thing as a bad deal. It's just lessons. So take what you learned from this one and move it over to another one. It may be your next one. It may not be, but that's fine. Just are you committed or attached to it? And I've had a lot of deals like that. I can go over, and I will be going over a lot more, but I would just say is just look at it as a lesson learned. Keep it as a template on you, right? Keep the verbiage that it takes to create creative deals or any kind of different kind of deals, that the writing of it is a skill set that you really just have to get through time and practice, period. And you could even practice at home if you really want. What you can do, so like the pain is like, oh man, the deal didn't go the way I wanted. What you can do is just say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We are going to play Monopoly. And in this Monopoly game, what you can do is we're going to have creative terms and just literally write out contracts on Park Place or Boardwalk or whatever it is on creative terms with the people that are playing Monopoly with you. So hopefully this helps, but at the end of the day, this was actually a win-win scenario and literally happened in the same month. One was the beginning of April, one was at the end of April. And just to show you, one was a setup for the other one. So even though a deal may go sideways, it's just a setup for the other one. So hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I would love to hear if you had a deal that kind of went sideways, but it actually worked out in the end for another deal. If you have one of those, or you got a deal that's like, man, I got a question like, how would you set this up? That's fine. If I've got time, I'll definitely answer it. I do review all the comments, and I do appreciate all of you. So I'm doing my best to stay as consistent as I can on these. All right. Appreciate it. Bye.